following program comes from executive producer Lilian Garcia. Every athlete is on this quest. Every performer dives in head first, battling real-life challenges and overcoming obstacles in an effort to make their dreams reality. Singer, songwriter, 15-year WWE host Lilian Garcia was the first woman to ever announce WrestleMania. And the first to launch her own podcast, which gives you an all-access pass to the human interest stories of elite athletes and extraordinary entertainers. Now, let's embark on another fascinating journey of chasing glory with your host, Lilian Garcia.
Welcome back, everybody. Yes, it is Chasing Glory, where everybody is telling their stories of chasing glory. Thank you for joining me, always at Lilian Garcia on Instagram and Twitter, and Lilian Garcia official fan page. Also, the new Instagram page just for Chasing Glory. It's all things Chasing Glory with my CG squad there, and that is at Chasing Glory Podcast on Instagram. And you can follow the Instagram stories, all that good stuff. Also, we're on YouTube, guys, so make sure you join us, Lilian Garcia. So it's just youtube.com/Lilian Garcia. Remember that Lilian is spelled with one L in the middle. And finally, guys, if you saw on my Instagram, you saw that we are finally up and running on Apple Podcast, or is it iOS? I guess it is iOS devices. You can get the all new Chasing Glory app. It's so cute because I'm little mini me in there. I didn't know my picture was going to be on that. But yeah, it can be right on your phone. It's little mini me, little icon, and it is for Android, also for iOS. So it is the easiest way that you can find the episode. You can also go to liliangarcia.com if you'd rather go that way. You can go to Spreaker. You can go to so many places to find Chasing Glory. So definitely keep spreading the word, guys, and keep rating. I would love to get those ratings up there and surpass the 1,000 mark on Apple Podcasts. So as soon as you listen to the episode, go ahead and give it that beautiful 5-star if you feel it was a 5-star show. I hope you do. We right now have a 5-star rating, so thank you, guys. And yeah, what an amazing week, guys. If you followed me on my Instagram stories, and like I said, at Chasing Glory Podcast, also on Instagram, you knew that I went to SummerSlam. I went to Monday Night Raw and also SmackDown at Barclays Center. And God, it was incredible. Just catching up with everybody was awesome. And then seeing everybody in action was just so much fun. And SummerSlam was actually my birthday, so it was just nice to be back there and celebrate it with everybody. The Bella twins were there too. So if you guys saw, I took pictures with them. And then Maurice, from Miz and Maurice, they're killing it. Congratulations to them and getting signed on their second season. You guys have to watch the show. It's hysterical. Total Divas is coming up too next month. There's a lot going on. And you know what? It just feels good to see people doing their thing and being happy for them. And that's why I encourage a lot of you, if you have friends that are doing their thing in the world, make sure that you are not just thinking about yourself, but are happy for others who also are getting things done and getting their dreams. Because it's so easy just to focus on yourself, but it's surely not a lot of fun. So what was amazing was getting interviews. Man, I sat down for one-on-one interviews that were so powerful, very surprising. There were 2 guests coming up that I didn't even focus on necessarily getting them right now. And it was beautiful the way things worked out. A lot of times I'll go into these places, into WWE, not necessarily having somebody in mind that I want to interview, just kind of being open-minded. I can have somebody that I'm like, oh, it'd be nice. But if it works out, great. And if not, then I always feel like the right person will come along. And trust me, coming up, I mean, we've got a great show for you today, and then in the next few weeks too. Things have been evolving, so you'll see what I mean. But today, I'm so excited to have Bobby Roode on the show. I got to meet Bobby last year when I went to England when I was invited to sing the national anthem there with NXT. And I got to hang out with him. And it was just such a great guy. He was champion at the time and just a leader. He is a born leader. And so doing this interview with him was so eye-opening. And it's just somebody that's been in the business for so long. And I think we were talking about like 20 years. And that's incredible to be having this kind of career in athleticism and the way that they, have to beat up their bodies night after night after night. So it was just also hearing him as a human being and all the lessons that he's learned along the way and things that he wants to share and the way that he grew up and why he is the way he is in certain things. And timing is everything in the fact that we're airing his interview today because just last week, August 22nd, he actually celebrated 1 year on the main roster. That is when he actually debuted on SmackDown Live and everything became more glorious in the WWE. So Bobby, congratulations. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, here is Bobby Roode's journey of chasing glory. For Robert Roode Jr., the journey wasn't always glorious. Growing up in Ontario, like most Canadians, he had a fascination with ice hockey, playing minor hockey in Peterborough, and eventually studied to become a corrections officer, but would pursue a career in pro wrestling after growing up a fan and admiring superstars such as Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig and Arn Anderson. He began training in his hometown by former WWE Intercontinental Champion Val Venis and made his debut after a year where he was known as Totally Awesome. After getting some exposure down in Puerto Rico, Bobby Roode would actually work a few dark matches in the WWE and would eventually be used as an enhancement talent on WWE secondary shows such as Jacked and Sunday Night Heat. Roode's first break came when he was signed by Total Nonstop Action as part of the Team Canada stable alongside future Sanity member Eric Young, where they would win the NWA Tag Team Championship. After making a name for himself in singles competition, Bobby Roode would team with Cowboy James Storm to form Beer Money, and not only would they win the TNA Tag Team titles a total of 5 times and be the longest reigning champions to date, together they would be known as one of the top teams in the entire world. Roode would reach the pinnacle of TNA when he actually defeated his partner James Storm for the TNA Heavyweight Championship and still holds the record for holding it the longest at 256 days. After 12 loyal and memorable years in TNA, Bobby Roode would move on to his next journey of his life, and at NXT TakeOver Dallas, Roode would appear in the crowd to a raucous ovation by the audience. He would begin wrestling for NXT very shortly after, and at TakeOver San Antonio, Roode would defeat Shinsuke Nakamura for the NXT Championship, where he would hold it for 203 days. On August 22nd, 2017, Bobby Roode would make his long-anticipated main roster debut when he showed up on SmackDown Live and within months become the United States Champion. Just recently, he made his WrestleMania debut and is currently a part of Monday Night Raw as a result of the Superstar shakeup. Bobby Roode is continuously showing the WWE Universe just why he is consistently glorious. It's about to get real, raw, and inspiring with Bobby Roode. Wow, here we go. My gosh, right in front of me, I'm so excited. Bobby Roode is in the house. Welcome to Chasing Glory.
Thank you for having me. It's great.
So how is it to hear, like, you know your accomplishments, and what I said just now in the bio is just a little snippet. I mean, I can't put everything that you've been through and that you've, gosh, all the accomplishments that you have had in wrestling. How is it when you hear that? When you hear, like, you know, the whole bio and resume and... Yeah,
it's crazy to think about, like, the fact that I've been in this crazy industry for 20 years, you know?
Yeah.
Broke in late 97, early 98, started training. Had a little bit of training prior to that in, like, 96. But had a little time off and kind of had to figure out what I wanted to do, and everything always led me back to professional wrestling, and it was kind of my passion. It was kind of instilled in me from the moment I stepped foot inside a ring. So it's been a fun ride. You know, it's taken me a lot of different places and went down a lot of different avenues to get to where I'm at today. But looking back on the last 20 years, I wouldn't change anything that I've done. No, the experience has been great.
But that's great. And when you can look back and go, in a way it is, right? But I feel like in some people can grow and they go, you know what, that didn't work, let me try this. Have you ever had those moments?
Oh my gosh. So funny story. I had my very first debut, first time ever being in the WWE was back in 1998, I believe. So it was like my first year basically into the business. And somebody that I knew in the business, we traveled to a pay-per-view. They were friends with Terry Taylor. Mm-hmm. So Terry was with the company at the time. Invited us to the pay-per-view. We were backstage. The next night we went to Monday Night Raw, and back then it was different. You had extra talent come to the building, but it's not like it is today, where they kind of have to dress off in a different place and you don't really see them unless they're needed. We just kind of hung out, and on Monday we were backstage at Raw, and Sergeant Slaughter was kind of in charge of all the extra matches, the dark matches, and the enhancement matches, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
So I was one of the guys just kind of hanging around, and I remember Perry Saturn had a match. Yeah, Perry was with Terry Reynolds, and they were just kind of getting started, I believe, around that time, and they had a match on, I want to say it was Sunday Night Heat back then.
Which just blew my mind, because I'm like, well, you said 98. I wasn't there yet.
Yeah. So Sunday Night Heat, and Perry needed an opponent for an enhancement match. It was a quick, 5-minute match, and I think Terry must have mentioned something to Sarge, and Sarge came up to me and was like, yeah, we need you to work with Perry tonight. And I was like, whoa, okay, here we go. And I went out there and actually, had a fairly decent match with Perry, and that was 98. So from 98 to 2004, I probably showed up at WWE TVs, I'm going to say at least a dozen, if not more times, just to network and show my face and show them that this is where I wanted to be.
When I was sitting there doing research on you, because obviously I don't know everybody's story by heart, right? So I'm sitting there doing that, and I'm like, wait, Sunday Night Heat? Wait, Velocity? Wait, what?
I did them all. I did them all, yeah.
And I was here during that time, and it's insane when I saw a video of you with Billy Kidman, and I'm going, this is crazy, because I thought the first time you ever stepped into WWE was now, after NXT.
No, geez. It was funny, last week at catering, I was sitting in catering, and I walk in, and Dolph Ziggler and Kurt Hawkins and Tyler Breeze were sitting at a table, and I walk over, and they look at me, and they're watching a Velocity match between myself and Matt Bloom, who back then was Prince Albert.
Yes.
Or one of his many gimmicks. But Matt Bloom, of course, the head trainer at the PC, and one of the major reasons why I got my start back here in WWE now. And I actually totally forgot about the match. It was such a long time ago that I totally kind of forgot about it. So I had many matches, many tag matches. I remember, I can think off the top of my head, I had a tag match against, actually it was against Prince Albert and Rhino on Velocity. I had another match I totally forgot about. I guess I wrestled a tag match against Dean Malenko that I don't remember. Dean reminded me of that when I got called up to the main roster. And so, many matches, a lot of dark matches that never made air either. One match I remember pretty vividly, actually, it was against Chuck Palumbo.
Oh, I remember Chuck.
Yeah, Chuck was a great guy. And,
such a great guy.
He, funny story, I'll tell you. So,
please tell me.
Again, trying to get a job here. So I live in Toronto, and they had television. Monday Night Raw was in Calgary, and I want to say SmackDown the next night was in Kelowna, BC. So I contacted, I believe it was Tom Pritchard at the time that was taking care of the extra bookings, the outside guys, the non-contract guys, to come in to be enhancement talent. So I asked him if I'd be okay if I went to Calgary. I had a friend that was living in Calgary playing pro lacrosse out there.
Yeah.
So it was kind of like a little vacation for me, but a chance to come and show my face again. So I flew myself out to Calgary. And in relation to, so to put it into geography-wise, it's about a 3.5 hour flight. So
Okay.
you couldn't drive it. So it was a flight. Flew there, went to Monday Night Raw. I wasn't booked, so I just kind of hung out. And it was about 5:45, 6 o'clock. And again, Sergeant Slaughter comes up to me and he goes, Chuck Palumbo needs a match tonight. He has a dark match and his opponent left.
Oh.
So he's like, Chuck wants to work with you. He's seen you work before and he wants to have a match with you. So I went and had the match. And it came back to the back. Nobody really said anything. Chuck was happy with it. I thought it went very well. But nobody said a word to me. So it's very odd. So
Yeah,
most times people will say like, hey, good job.
Right.
Or, but it was like dead silence. It was just like nobody really said anything. So I get back to my buddy's place after, and the next day I'm supposed to drive to Kelowna, which is like 6.5 hours to drive.
Wow.
So I'm thinking, like, do I even bother going to SmackDown at this point? Like, I'm thinking, like, I wasn't booked. I just happened to have a match with Chuck. Do I really need to get up at 4 a.m. and drive there to get there for the noon hour call time? But I did. I'm glad I did. So I walk in, and I was like one of the first ones there, and I'm walking in the back, and I'm just kind of walking around the building, and who comes up to me in the hallway is Vince McMahon.
Wow.
So I see Vince, and this is the very first interaction I've ever had with him. And he comes up to me and he goes, hey, great job last night. I really liked the way that you sold during the match. And I can remember it. I was like, the only thing I said was, oh, thank you very much.
Yeah.
I hope I get the opportunity again. Walks off. And then Sarge comes up to me later in the day and he said, during your match last night, Vince came over the headset and asked who you were. So we're going to have you in another match tonight. Long story short, went out there, had another match. The match, I'm not going to say who it was against. Wasn't as good as Chuck Palumbo. So it didn't go very well. So that was 2002, maybe 2003. But that's just like, again, showing up, trying to be noticed, trying to be seen. And I didn't quit. I mean,
Right.
it kind of knocked me down a notch, but in the back of my mind, I'm thinking, well, Vince saw me, maybe the next time I'll go there, he'll remember me. And
Yeah.
so it kept going and going and going. And then, 2004 rolled around and, it was the multiple times showing up to WWE and kind of getting turned down, being told to, change your look, do this, wear different gear, whatever it was.
Yeah.
It was always something different. And I always tried to do that, to try to get here and be a full-time WWE superstar. But it didn't pan out back then.
Mm-hmm.
So I had an opportunity to go to TNA Wrestling.
Yeah.
So I got,
12 years there.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I got a call in 2004, and it just happened to be just a basic fill-in for somebody. One of the Team Canada guys couldn't make the, I believe it was called the World Cup at the time. It was in May of 2004. So said, hey, you want to come down to Nashville for a couple of weeks? We're going to do TV on the Wednesday. We'll have you stay down, do the following TV, and then we'll send you home. So okay. So I went down there, and I think the very first match I had was against Jerry Lynn. Jerry's phenomenal.
Yeah, I
He's
love Jerry.
An amazing human being to start with, but
Yeah.
just an incredible talent. So we had a very good match and kind of caught the eyes of the powers that be down there. And one thing led to another. And after the second TV taping, I was flying back home to Toronto, and I left with the contract.
How did that feel for you that you worked so many years, right, for like 6 years of these dark matches
Yeah.
and not getting signed by the WWE, and then you go and after your second one, you're getting a contract.
Yeah.
How did that feel for you, though, that it wasn't what you were originally going for, WWE?
Well, I talked to a lot of guys. I mean, I made a lot of friends in the business, and one of my original trainers, Val Venis.
I love Val.
Yeah,
Oh my God, when
I talked to Sean a lot, and his another guy who trained me, Shane Sewell, who and not a lot of people know who Shane is, but he was a huge star in Puerto Rico and was tag team partners with Val in Puerto Rico before Sean came up here as Val Venis. But he was also another one of my trainers and knew a lot about the business. So I really kind of picked their brains a little bit. And, at the end of the day, wrestling is wrestling. And if you're able to, make a living doing what you love to do,
Right.
and do it. So I was excited at the time. TNA was a young company, but had a lot of talent there. And I got there. Timing is everything in this business. I'll probably say
Yeah.
that again many times in this interview, but timing is everything. I got there, we did the Wednesday night pay-per-views, and then within a month we were on Fox Sports, I believe it was, taping Thursday. So we would do live pay-per-view Wednesdays, and then we would fly Thursday morning to Orlando and tape TV. So the company really started to snowball at that time when I got there. So it was a good time for me to get there, and like you said, 12 years. I made a great living, was able to support my family doing what I love to do.
And I want to talk further about your career there and obviously going to NXT and everything, but I want to get to know who you are. Who is Bobby? Like, I know you say you grew up near Toronto.
Yeah, I grew up in a city called Peterborough, born and raised, still live there. So I'm
still live there now?
Yeah, so I'm about an hour from the Toronto airport. So a little over an hour, but an hour from downtown Toronto, depending on the traffic, because the traffic is very much like New York. It's
oh, really?
Yeah. Yeah, just a very kind of a small town guy. Very much an introvert, I guess. I don't.
It's so wild when I hear this.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
Yeah, a lot of people can't believe it. Yeah.
I've interviewed Batista, Stone Cold Steve Austin, even Seth Rollins just a few weeks ago, and they all said introvert, shy, and then you're in this business.
Yeah, and that's crazy. A lot of people said that. My nan, my late grandmother, said, I can't believe that's him out there, because he's so quiet, and then he's just this totally different person. But I guess that's what this business is built on, is this, when that red light comes on, you just go out there and you be a totally different person. For whatever reason, I don't know if that can be taught or not, but it was just something that was instilled in me. When the red light's on, you just become somebody different.
So who was that instilled that in you early on?
Just again, guys like Sean and Shane.
But before wrestling.
Oh, before wrestling?
Like you being an introvert, how the heck do you even get the courage to
I don't know, because
that's what I want to do?
My parents were like, you can't even get up in front of the class and do a speech without having, being sick or wanting to stay home. I don't know what it was. It was something about this business that I needed to be a part of it, and I wanted to be a part of it so bad that I would do anything to make it happen. And I guess when I walk through the curtain, I'm just a different person. I can be somebody different,
Alter ego.
Yeah, I guess it is.
Yeah.
As strange as that is, it's just, that's just how I've lived my life. Yeah.
So before I find out, what even got you into this business, growing up then as an introvert, was it a struggle?
Yeah, a little bit, I think. Was never a big social guy unless I was in a group with some friends that I was really close with. I could feel like I could really express myself and just be me. But yeah, just very shy, not extremely social, still not really to this day. And it's not that I don't want to be social. It's kind of, sometimes it's uncomfortable for me to be in big groups and just be around people that I don't know very well and have, conversations or jump into conversations. For whatever reason that is, I don't know. But I just enjoy, when I'm at home off the road, I just enjoy being home, and I don't, it's not that I want to go and not hang out with friends, but I'd much rather just be at home and just do my thing. And I don't know, it's just the way that I've always been. My parents always had a lot of friends and very social, but
so you didn't get that from them?
No, it's just very shy.
Brothers, sisters?
I have a sister who is not shy. No, she's younger. She's a couple of years younger than me, but I don't know. I guess.
So there's nothing that you can attribute where you remember this happened to me and
nothing.
Shut down.
No, nothing. It was nothing in my life that I could think I'm afraid to talk to people, or I don't want to hang out with people, or be in large groups. It's just that's always who I've been.
Yeah.
I just for even as a kid, I would just go in my room and watch TV or listen to music and just kind of just do my own thing.
It's funny when Batista was on here and he talked about that. He said, I said, is there something that you would tell your younger self? And he said, I would tell my younger self that it's okay, that relax, it's all right, it's who you are. Mm-hmm. Is that basically what you would say? Or did you struggle? Did you fight within yourself going, oh, why can I not do this?
No, I never really felt that way, but it bothered me when I was at TNA and I in this business, you have to rule of thumb, unwritten rule, you go in the locker room, shake everybody's hand and say hello. You know? And that was tough for me because first of all, I don't know who these guys, and a lot of the guys that were there were like guys I used to watch on television and it'd be like kind of like a little starstruck or whatever, and you didn't want to seem like you didn't want to say hello, but that was a big obstacle for me to overcome, was like doing that. And a lot of times the thing that bothered me the most is that people thought, not everybody, but until they got to know me, but people thought I was a bit of an asshole because I didn't speak to them. But I wasn't. I don't think there's anybody in this business, I can honestly say, and the one thing I'm very proud of is I don't think I've made any enemies
at all
in this business. That's the one thing
I've always felt about you.
And I've always been really tried to be very professional at all times. And but yeah, I always came across like a snob, and people would say that like after they got to know me, it was like, man, I thought you were such an asshole when I first met you because you didn't talk to anybody. I was like, well, it's not that I didn't want to talk to anybody. It's just who I am. But now that I'm comfortable with you, I can talk to you.
Yeah,
you know, it just takes a little while. I don't know what it was. That's just even to this day, I'm still the exact same way.
I get it. And for me, I was never taught, because I was the first, like, especially female to come from outside the whole business. I was never taught to go around and shake hands. So I didn't want to bother people.
Right, and that's the
so
same
I get
way with
you.
Too. Yeah.
And then sure enough, what came across was, oh, she's a bitch.
Yeah.
No, I just didn't want to bother you.
That's
I'm not going to
exactly
come and interrupt your conversation. Hi, I'm Lilian.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I totally get that. And you get that it's almost like you get a stigma and then you have to work to get out of that.
Like there's times where I'm at work right now and it's like, well, actually I just walked by Stephanie Command, but she was in a different conversation with somebody else. And I walked by her and I was like, oh, do I say hello or do I just keep walking and say, maybe I'll see her later?
Yeah.
So it's just like, that's a struggle for me, right? It's just like, I'm not like over the top, hey, Steph. But when she's in a conversation, because to me, that's kind of ignorant and rude. I'll just, I'll wait till I see her later, So, but maybe some guys don't. Maybe some guys would do that, but that's just not who I am. And I'm not doing it because I don't want to say hello. Just kind of being respectful.
Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
So were you, how were you in school?
I was an average student.
Yeah,
a very average, I would say, student. I never really enjoyed school very much. And I don't know if it was like the social aspect of it or not, but I was very much into sports and athletics. So in order for me to do my athletics, I needed to go to school. That was number one rule in my family. So being from Canada, I always played hockey every winter and sometimes in the summer. So, if I wanted to do that, I needed to go to school. And I mean, my marks weren't bad. It was just, I always was focused on either hockey or getting home to watch wrestling.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
So what came first, hockey or wrestling?
Hockey, definitely when I was a kid. In Canada, I think you can ask any of the Canadians on the roster, most anyways. Your first thing that you're taught is how to skate.
Right.
So I had a pair of skates on. My dad had me out skating at the rinks when I was like 3 years old. And I started playing hockey when I was 4. I played, every year. I never skipped a winter. I played every year. Sometimes I played summer hockey. And played at a pretty decent level when I was in my teens, and ended up playing at a high level when I was around 19 or 20. But I knew that eventually I knew that I wasn't going to make it in hockey.
Why is that? I heard you say that somewhere else. Why?
Well, it's just, there were so many guys that I played with that were better than me, and I've seen people and guys years ahead of me, a couple years older than me, that would be so good and not get drafted or not make it anywhere in hockey. And I was like, well, if they're not going, I don't know if I'm going to go. And I always, from the time I was 8 years old, I was always such a fan of pro wrestling. And so as I got to be a teenager, it was like, man, I remember telling my parents, like, man, I really want to try wrestling. And I remember watching WCW Saturday night, and they advertised for the power plant in Atlanta. I was like, you know what? Instead of going to college, I want to go there and do that. And my parents kind of laughed or whatever. But I was kind of half serious. You know what I mean? Like, that's what I want to do. So yeah, I mean, when I got to like 18 or 19 years old in Canada, when you're 18, you can get drafted to the NHL. When you're 16, you can get drafted to the OHL, which in comparison to like, say, NCAA football, so college football is like the feeding ground to the NFL. While the OHL, you can get drafted when you're 16 and you play till you're about 18 or 19, and you can get drafted out of that to go to the NHL. Well, I was past that, and I knew that, I probably wasn't going to go anywhere in hockey, so I really wanted to focus on wrestling. And that's when I started to, I met Sean and got me in the ring and started doing our thing. And then, there was nothing else but wrestling. I tried going to community college and I took a law and security course to become a correctional officer.
Wow.
And I just like totally zoned out. I just was not like, my heart wasn't in it, my head wasn't in it. It was just at that point in my life, I just remember thinking, I just want to wrestle. I just want to try this and see how I do. And so I did.
Did it bother you at any time about not pursuing hockey? Like that
No.
you weren't going? No.
No,
You
it
were
never
like,
it never bothered me at all because
okay. So that's when you know it's not your true passion.
it's not my true passion. My true passion really became wrestling at I would say like 15 years old.
Wow.
Yeah.
And your parents by this time, were they still laughing, or they
No, they
started
weren't. It wasn't like
realizing?
really laughing. Like my parents were huge wrestling fans as well. Like maybe not so much my mom, but like my dad knew, and they would take me to wrestling whenever it came to Peterborough. I mean, front row seats every single time. I remember watching the very first WrestleMania on closed circuit television in my uncle's bar, like upstairs on a little black and white TV. Like it just and they were with me, so it was like lots of like cool memories of that. So they knew. I think they knew from an early time that I was kind of serious about it.
So how was that years later, all of a sudden your dad's watching you?
Yeah, my dad and my sister actually came to my very first match in June of 1998. It was in Welland, Ontario. It was like a 3.5 hour drive, and my dad drove me with my sister in the back and went and did the show. And yeah, so that's kind of cool, yeah.
Yeah, it's like those memories that you build, because I know when my daddy took me to the Township Auditorium, we were watching, and I remember watching Ric Flair, and next thing you know, I was introducing Ric Flair.
Sure, yeah.
Dad's backstage, I'm introducing them, and I'm like, Dad, is this surreal or what? I'm getting ready to go out there and introduce Ric Flair, and you and I were, watching the TV, or you're taking me to the Township Auditorium, so it just became that really special bond.
Yeah.
So you seem like you have a really special bond with your parents.
I do. Yeah, no, I do for sure, and yeah, I mean they've been very, very, very supportive of me throughout my entire career, So, and my sister as well. So very, very, as far as my family goes, very, very, very supportive. Yeah.
So what would you say growing up was your biggest struggle?
Oh, my biggest struggle. I guess maybe maybe the social aspect of just, especially trying to talk in this business. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like trying to network the way that you're supposed to network. And like I said, just the simple introducing and handshaking and all that stuff, that was just awkward for me, and it just took me a while to kind of get
Were you just in one school, or did you have to move around?
No, I never moved. My parents owned a home and grew up in the home for my entire childhood until I moved out. Same area, same high school, same, and oddly enough, like it's a small town, so I don't want to say town, it's a city, but same group of high school friends I still talk to, so nothing odd, yeah.
Do you wish that you would have been able to move around more, or do you?
No, I don't like change.
You don't like change?
I don't like change. Yeah, I don't. I struggle with change.
So how do you struggle then, or how do you deal with, like, you're in a different town almost every day?
But I keep the same routine.
Oh, tell us about your routine.
Well, I think it's a similar routine to a lot of guys, but I mean, I usually, on Monday Night Raw, I fly out for the live events Friday morning and come home Tuesday morning. So Fridays I usually, land and get my car, and, I usually have the hotel. I'm very, I have to be organized when I'm on the road. I eat the same thing basically every day.
Really?
And, I'll pack some meals, or I'll have to hit the same restaurants on the road, and
why?
Yeah.
Why so much
Just
the routine?
I've always been into working out and stuff like that. And now that I've reached my 40s, it's become that much more important to stay in good shape for what I do.
You look amazing, yeah.
Oh, thank you.
It's working.
But so yeah, I mean, I just very, very strict when it comes to eating and stuff. I try to, if I know I'm going to have a late night or a long drive, instead of stopping at a McDonald's, I'll make sure that I pick up some chicken or whatever at the Outback, or the Texas Roadhouse, or whatever I'm at. Before the show, I'll make sure I get a meal after, so I know I'm eating what I need to eat. And so it's just very, very routine. Go to the gym, get up in the morning, do morning cardio. I eat my breakfast. I'll go to the gym and I'll lift, and then I'll eat again, and then If I have to drive, I'll drive. If I'm in town, I'll go back to the hotel, have a nap, get up, eat, and go. So it's just very, very routine.
So what does change represent that you don't like change?
I don't know. I think it's a comfort thing maybe for me, you know. I just moved actually. I was living in a home for a couple of years, and then I just bought a new house in May. So it's like opposite end of town, new house, new neighbors, and it took me a little while to kind of get used to that.
Does it bring like anxiety, like you were saying, that social?
No, not really anxiety.
No.
No, it's just have to adapt to just a new surrounding, I guess.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's very hard to explain, but just I've never been good with change. Yeah. So, and like coming from SmackDown to Raw, that was a little.
That was
weird.
Another one, huh?
Just because of the schedule, you know. At least I knew I was home every Friday night, and then I was leaving Saturday, and where I live, it's a little bit of a drive, like I said, to the airport, and traffic isn't great. So Saturday mornings, traffic is pretty easy to get to the airport. Friday mornings, a totally different story.
Right.
So now I'm thinking, now I'm going to leave every Friday. Instead of coming home on Wednesdays, I'm going to be home on Tuesday. So do I have to whip, and now I'm flipping things around when I'm at home, because I'm very routine when I'm at home as well, too. So just small changes, but I get over it pretty quick.
And how does your wife, is she the same? Like she likes no change?
She's very much the same. Yeah,
she is. That works then.
Yeah, so it works.
And your kids?
Well, my kids are a little older, so like 17 and 14. So they've got their own schedules. And like I said, like when it comes to my schedule, like my youngest is into hockey and lacrosse, and he plays at a very high level as well. So many times when I'm at home, if I'm not on my couch or at the gym, when I'm at home, I'm at a rink with him, watching him play or taking him to practice or whatever it is. So like the schedule changed. I always like my Friday nights because, if he played a game, I knew I'd at least get to see one game that week. But now with the change, with the different schedule change, it's a little different. So now I'm missing Fridays and Saturdays and Sundays.
Oh, that's tough.
But it's tough. But thankfully, I mean, they get it. And technology nowadays, you can basically get somebody to FaceTime the game, and I can sit back and watch it. So yeah, it's all good in that sense. But my kid, my youngest, is not like me at all. He's very much very, very social. My oldest one is very much like me, though. Yeah.
Really, you saw that?
Yeah.
That's wild how your kids end up either being just like you or you're not.
Yeah. My youngest is they're two totally different kids. Yeah.
How would you say, was it tough you said it, you've been in this industry for almost 20 years and raising children at the same time. Yeah. Tell me the struggle of that.
It's tough, but you have, obviously good people around you and family that helps. Like I said, they're a little older now, but when they were younger, it was tough. My youngest, like I said, has played at a high level of sports since he was 3 years old, kind of like the way I was. So it was always difficult for me. The TNA schedule was very easy because we were never on the road a lot, but the last 2 years, even NXT, I had some weekends off, but like especially this last year since being called up, it's been like every weekend I've been gone.
Yeah.
And thankfully, in a way, it's weird to say this, but I'm glad he's older.
Yes.
Because if he was like 8 or 9 years old, or even younger, and I was missing everything, I think that would bother me more. But he gets it, and he loves the fact. Both my kids love the fact that I'm in the business, and they think it's cool, and are fans of the business as well. So they get it and they understand it. But I think if they were younger, I think they'd find it a little tough why Dad wasn't around. But I just happened to, I was on the road last weekend, and my son was in the Canadian Lacrosse Championships in Saskatoon, Saskatchewan. Which is something that I really wanted to go to, but I couldn't. But I was able to watch every game on like a streaming feed on the internet. So it's things like that kind of help, So.
Well, it's awesome to hear though that you can, push yourself past the boundaries too, what you're saying and all. When you went into TNA, what would you say was the highlight, and what would you say was some of the struggle that you encountered there?
I had, TNA always has got a bad rap, and it's just the experience that different people have had there, and I get it. Not a lot of people were treated great. Some people were treated okay. I was treated very well there, from the beginning, right, basically to the end, and there was some struggles though. Just when different people came in and out, and you saw like the guard change many times and different visions and stuff. It was difficult to see that, and then you hear, you know, and actually have the problem yourself of not, you know, getting paid on time and wondering if the company was in jeopardy, and then all of a sudden things would turn around and things would be going great again. And so those were like some of the struggles, but I had more good times than bad there. And I was put in a position there where I got to work with some pretty amazing people, both in the ring and out of the ring. So, you know, you were talking about your experience with your dad and Ric Flair. Like, I had an opportunity to work with Hulk Hogan. Yeah. You know, which is crazy. At the time, I was the world champion, and Hulk was in the company, and, you know, we had some segments together and actually did some matches. We did a 6-man tag on live events when we did a European tour in 2011, and you know, I was just telling the story the other day. It was myself, Bubba Dudley, and Kurt Angle on one side against Hulk Hogan, Sting, and James Storm. So when you think about the talent, like in the history, you know, you got Hulk and Sting on one side, and you got Kurt. You know, it's just one of those things. It's like, wow, this is kind of cool, you know. So I got to work with a lot of amazing people. I got to work with Kurt Angle, you know, and I got to work with Jeff Hardy. I got to work with Rob Van Dam, Booker T, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, you know. Dusty Rhodes was there booking for a while. I got to meet and work with Dusty, and you know, it's just an amazing group of guys. Jeff Jarrett was a huge reason why I was there, and always treated me very well. And you know, I know I'm forgetting other people, but it was just you know, the 12 years that I spent there, I got to work with some pretty amazing people, and got to, you know, get better at my craft and learn from guys that, you know, the guys I just mentioned that had the experience, and has you know, really taught me, you know, how to handle myself in the ring and out of the ring. So it was very helpful, especially coming here.
Would you say that it was a blessing that you didn't get signed in 2004 WWE?
I think so, because I don't know if I'd be here. You know, I really don't know. I like to think that I would, because I think one of the reasons why I stayed in TNA so long is because I had a really good attitude and was professional about everything, and just kind of took one day at a time, and I never got, you know, felt defeated or got frustrated. So I'd like to think that I would have made it here, but who knows? Like,
so why did you leave TNA?
I just didn't have the passion. And, you know, after, you know, thinking back to like an 8-year-old kid who, you know, would go sit in a broom closet and watch the first ever WrestleMania, to like not even wanting to watch the product anymore.
But what happened? What was the transition?
It was just the way the writing was on the wall, I thought, with the company. You know, a lot of very important people in the company left. You know, Samoa Joe, AJ Styles, a lot of, you know, guys that I was there with that helped build the company to where it was at. You know, a lot of the names were gone. A lot of the office people were gone. They were starting to switch the schedules around to appease, you know, the production crew so they could get paid. And it was like, there was times where we were working like 8 days in a row, doing 2 shows a day. And, you know, reaching, you know, that 40 years old, you know, in and around that age, I was like, I don't think I can do this. You know, I don't think I can go out there and sit at home for 6-8 weeks and then have me come to work and expect me to work, you know, 8 days in a row, twice a day, and in a studio of like 200 people, and really like be able to give it my all. For me, the passion was starting to go away, and it was in my mind. I was thinking, like, if I don't want to leave my house, and I don't want to go do what I've loved to do for the last, you know, 17 years, then I really have to rethink what I want to do here.
Did you let your contract run out, or
I still was on a contract? I had so I signed a 4-year deal. I was heading into my 4th year, and I asked for my release.
Oh, you did ask. Okay.
Yeah.
So how quickly was it that NXT came around?
Very quick, actually, yeah. So I had some talks with TNA management, and I was just like, I'm not happy anymore. I need a break, and you know, I'm never saying never, but I just don't really want to be here right now, you know. And I know I have another year on my contract, and the contract was, you know, financially it was great. no complaints. But I just...
So isn't that crazy? It's not about the money.
It's never been about the money.
Right?
For me. It's not, that's one thing is like, and yeah, I love the money. You know what I mean? It's great.
If it comes with it,
if it comes with it, it's great. But it's never been about the money before, ever.
Passion first.
Yeah, passion first. Yeah, and when the passion was gone near the end of the TNA, I was just like, it's just not worth it, and I want to see how I feel once I'm gone. So I had some talks with the TNA management, and discussed. I have another year on my contract. I'm really worried that, I just don't have the heart to be here anymore, and I don't want to do this, and I just need a break. Mm-hmm. So they agreed to it. I ended up finishing up. I went and did another 7-day run for TV, taped 3 months of television, I believe, at the time, and then finished up in March on a Saturday night and got a call Sunday morning from Matt Bloom. And,
he's like, hey, they had you on their calendar.
He was like, hey, what are you doing or whatever? And, I've talked to Matt. I actually became friends with Matt because he used to travel with Val, and so I knew Matt, and we just kind of started talking, and kind of one thing kind of snowballed into another. And I remember him calling me. It was during the week. It was a Wednesday or a Thursday night. And I was at my house, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" I was like, "Oh, just eating dinner or whatever." And he's like, "Oh, do you mind talking to Hunter right now?" I was like, "Right now?" He's like, "Yeah." He's on. I'm going to patch him in. I was like, "Okay." Literally had the conversation.
Does your heart start raising?
Yep. Yeah. Literally, first time I ever talked to Hunter, and I don't want to say grew up, but kind of watched him and studied him.
Right.
So it was a big thing for me, right? So, tried to kind of keep it in perspective what I was doing, talking business, and he got on the phone, and I was like, hey, he goes, well, what do you want to do here? He's like, you're going to be 40 years old. Are you looking? I know you've had a long career. You've been in the business a while. Do you want to come down and be a coach? What are you looking to do? And I was like, I'm going to be honest. I was like, I don't want to coach. I mean, eventually I'd love to, but, the schedule that I've had the last, especially the last 3 years at TNA, has been very light. And I feel like I got a lot left in the tank and a lot left to give. And I'd love to have an opportunity there. That's all I want is an opportunity. Like, okay, cool. Well, we'll give you an opportunity. We'll give it a shot and see where it goes. So I went down. They flew me down to WrestleMania 30, I don't even know, 32, whatever one was in Dallas. Mm-hmm. Went down there, flew down there, met Hunter face to face, kind of met everybody, met the crew, and I just immediately felt at home. I know what I said, I don't like change, but I walked in there and it was everybody was just really cool.
And AJ's there, right?
AJ wasn't in NXT, but Joe was there. And I knew Finn Balor.
Yeah.
I knew Finn from before. And a lot of guys, Austin Aries was there at the time. And I worked with for many years at TNA.
Right.
So it was just but even the younger guys that I never met before, they just really welcomed me there. And I was like, this is cool.
It's funny because I asked AJ when he and I were talking, I said, what the heck took you so long, right?
Right.
To get here and all. And he goes, I had this thing in my head of what WWE was going to be.
Yeah.
And it was so opposite.
Yeah.
He was, I get here and it's so cool. It's so awesome. I can't believe I waited this long.
Right.
Is that the way that you felt too?
In a way, but I was in NXT, so I wasn't sure if that translated up here or not. You know what I mean? But from I said, the moment I walked into that arena,
Center?
It wasn't even the performance. I was actually at the Takeover event in Dallas the night before WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And even the talent relations people and the writers and the production people, the cameramen, it was just everybody was just so cool. I was like, oh, I can get used to this, And then I watched the Takeover event. They had me. I watched it backstage, but they took me out in the front row for Joe and Finn's match, and kind of showed me on camera and got a nice reaction. I remember Steve Austin being there, and he walked up and he goes, "Hey, hell of a reaction, hey kid," or whatever. When I walked back, so I was like, "Wow, this is cool." And then literally one thing led to another, and it was in June. I think it was mid-June. I made my debut in England, of all places. At Download Fest. Yeah.
Right. I think that was the year right before I joined you guys. For that one.
That's right. Yeah.
Download Festival. That's the first time that you and I actually had some interaction there, and I was the whole time going, "Wow, this guy's really cool."
Yeah.
But I could tell that you were a little standoffish. It's funny. I could tell, and now it totally makes sense. The whole thing.
Yeah.
Which is almost too. It's funny because one of the guys said, I think it was Steve. actually, speaking of Austin. Was that the first time you met him?
It's the first time I met him, yeah.
Yeah, he's a cool guy.
Yeah,
he's awesome.
Great guy.
I've had 1 or 2 beers with him
in
the ring.
Yeah.
But he was saying how he's very protective of his circle.
Sure.
Like, he's still that, the guy that doesn't necessarily like to go out and socialize, but he goes, I'm very protective of who I let in. Is that basically the same way?
I think so.
Friends and...
Never really thought of it that way, but maybe I am. Yeah, but I've made a lot of friends here on the roster. Like, I made a lot of friends on SmackDown. Maybe it took me a little while just to get comfortable there, but I managed to make some friends, and coming over to Raw, it's a totally different locker room, but managed to kind of fit in a little bit over here and make some new friends here too. So, but as far as letting people in, I mean, I don't know. I've never really thought of it that way. I guess for me, I look at it more if people will allow me in their group,
Yeah.
So,
do you have close friendships here?
Here, yeah. I mean, not super, super close, but guys that I can joke around with and hang out with, that I feel comfortable with. Like, a lot of times, and it's not because I don't like anybody, but a lot of times I just like going on the road and driving by myself. Like, if I'm on the road, I like being on my own schedule. Like I said, don't like change. So if I can find somebody that's like does my own, like is very similar to my schedule, then I can ride with them, you know. But other than that, like I'm a bit of a loner on the road, and I don't mind that because if I'm tired, I can just stay in the town. If I want to drive, I can drive on to the next one. But yeah. So
it doesn't make it feel lonely at all?
No, I'm comfortable.
That's where you're comfortable. It's your comfort zone.
Yeah.
So for you, going to NXT, you said you were very comfortable. How was it for you to transition from NXT up here to WWE?
The transition was okay for me, actually.
Yeah,
because I think just the experience that I carried and kind of knowing how it worked in a way, as far as knowing how it worked when I say that, I mean, like as far as the scheduling and what I needed to do on the road. Like, I know I got to book a car, and I know I got to get a hotel, and I know I got to worry about food, and I know I got to be at the building at a certain time, and just things like that. I was aware of, but as far as the work and the commitment, it didn't change for me.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So you've been up here for a while. You actually had more of a tag team, right? In NXT, you had more of a singles. You've had more of a singles here, right?
Well, I never did any singles, I never did a tag in NXT. I was actually...
I mean, not NXT, I meant TNA.
TNA, yeah.
TNA.
I did, yeah.
Yeah, you've had a lot at tag team at TNA.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've had more of a singles here.
Yeah.
Which one do you prefer?
It's funny because, and I think, I want to say, like, Devon Dudley said the same thing to me. And maybe every tag team guy says this, but it's like, when you're in a tag team, you want to be a singles guy. When you're in a singles guy, you want to be in a tag team. But I think for me, I'm very, again, it comes from my personality is like, if I'm with somebody, like when I did the mixed match challenge with Charlotte, I felt like I could like really be over the top with her. You know what I mean? So being with somebody, it allows me to be more open.
Right.
You know, when I'm just me, I feel like I'm just cautious of everything, where I can just kind of let go when I'm with somebody else. But as far as a performer, definitely like singles.
You like singles better.
But I was always a huge tag team wrestling fan, like the Hart Foundation and the Bulldogs. And so that's a tough question for me. I don't know, I'm kind of wishy-washy with the answer, but I guess it depends on how you look at it. I really do enjoy the last year. Like, this is my 1-year anniversary this weekend, being on the floor, on the road. Yeah.
Happy anniversary.
Yeah,
that's amazing.
I started call up in SmackDown last year, right after SummerSlam. So I've been a singles guy for a year, and it's been an amazing run. I've learned a lot. I've really enjoyed it. So maybe, I don't know, maybe if I start a tag here, maybe I'd have a different answer for you. But I think right now the singles thing is good for me.
So I want to know something, and this is just something that I read. Mm-hmm. And so I want to know, what's your perception when you hear this now, if you haven't heard it before, right? Because you came in strong. Mm-hmm. You came in really strong.
Right.
And then things have tapered off a little bit, right? So it's like the headlines at one point were from glorious to lusterless. That's what I read.
Yeah.
What does that do when you see that or when you hear that now? Does that fuel you more? Does that go, they have no idea, or?
A bit of both. You know, it fuels me. It definitely fuels me. But in a way, it's like they don't get it. They don't know what's going on.
So tell us what's going on.
For me, it's like it's patience, it's timing. Again, like I said, timing is everything in this business. And people can say whatever they want, but like I came up here, I came up to SmackDown and had a great run there. I got to work with Randy Orton. I got to work with Shinsuke. I got to tag with those guys. I got to work with AJ tagging. It may not have been on television, but live events and different things. I got to work with some amazing people and became United States champion.
Right.
And was a part of a WrestleMania, and I haven't had a weekend off in a year. So it's been even though you don't see me on television every week, I'm still working and I'm still doing stuff and having great matches. Raw's different. I came over to Raw and I was like the surprise when they did that night in the draft. I was like the surprise tag partner for the main event coming over from SmackDown. So, and I main evented Money in the Bank.
Right.
So, and that was just 2 months ago. So it's funny how people can think like, oh, he's not doing anything. He's lost everything, or he's nothing more than a mid-card guy. Or whatever. But
so this is not the first time you've heard it.
It's
like
not the
you've
first
been
time
hearing it.
Yeah, I've been hearing it, and it's like you just be patient, and I honestly think if you work hard enough, and you take every opportunity that they give you here and make the most of it, and the cream always rises to the top.
That and attitude.
Yeah, and an attitude. And that's one of the things, like I said, I can hang my hat on is like, I've always had a professional attitude, and I'll carry that to the day I hang up my boots. So.
But that's why you've had the career for 20 years.
Yeah,
that's exactly why. Yeah.
So.
Because I've seen people when they don't realize this is a wave.
It is.
This is a wave.
Yeah.
And when maybe your wave isn't very, at the top, because you can't. You can't ride that the whole time. Right. But you have to be happy for others too when they're out there.
Yeah, of course.
And that's what I see in you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I mean, it's in a weird way, I guess I look at it as like it's a team thing. If we're drawing well, we're all making money, and we're all on the road and doing what we love to do every night. It doesn't matter if you're, the first match on the card or the last match on the card, if you're on TV that weekend or if you're not, there's a saying in the business, like you got to cool off to get hot again, Yeah. So it definitely comes in waves. And the next time my wave starts to rise, I'm going to take that opportunity and hopefully keep riding that wave as long as I can.
What is it that you want to achieve here?
At the end of the day, I'm 42 years old. I've never had, knock on wood, I've never had a serious injury in my career. I've never missed a show because of an injury. The longevity, I think of it for me is very important. I want to be here for as long as I can. And when I feel like physically I can't do it anymore, I still want to be here. I want to be a part of the company. I want to be a part of this business for as long as I possibly can. And I think that my experience and some things that I have learned throughout my career, I can kind of pass on to the next generation and do something within the company that, fulfills my passion, I guess, and helps others.
So your chase for glory, has it looked the way you thought it was going to look?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like to think so. I mean, being a part of, being in this business still at 42 years old and being a part of Monday Night Raw, and the company right now is, killing it.
It's on fire.
It's killing it. And just to be a part of it at this time is pretty amazing, and like I said, just hope to continue to go out there and seize every opportunity I can, continue to succeed, and hopefully ride that wave to the top. And I would love an opportunity to step inside the ring with a guy like Roman Reigns for the Universal Championship, or a John Cena at a WrestleMania. Those are obviously, in this business, you have to have goals like that.
Right.
You have to. Even though they may seem so far away, you have to have goals like that to keep showing up to work and going to the gym every day and doing the things that brought you here in the first place.
Right.
You have to continue to put those goals in front of you. And, I always kind of push myself to reach the unforeseeable goals, I guess, because you never know. Like, I never thought I'd become TNA World Champion, but I did,
You did, yeah.
And so it's just, I never thought I'd be an NXT champion, and I was. And so, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of things in this business where you think, now that'll never happen, but if it can happen.
When you get those titles, Do you stop for a minute and appreciate them?
Absolutely.
You do?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, for sure. Definitely. Because they mean a lot. And we all know what, it's sports entertainment. But at the same time, it's like when you get those titles and you get to have those opportunities to carry those titles, it definitely means something. It means that the company trusts you and the company looks at you as a guy that can help carry the company. And I was, over the 20 years, the year that I spent in NXT when I was NXT champion, that was like the most fulfilling time of my life in my career. Not to shortchange anything that I did prior to that, but it was like, here I am in NXT. It's a very, it's a smaller brand under the WWE umbrella, but they've put the title on me and I'm main eventing their takeovers and all their live shows, and we were starting to travel domestically and internationally, and the brand was starting to grow, and I felt like it was kind of like my job to kind of lead.
Yeah.
Guys
you were like the leader.
Yeah, I felt like I was.
Yeah.
Because just the experience, but I never really held myself higher than anybody else, but I always wanted to feel like I was a part of it with everybody, you know what I mean? And I was, in a way, I guess, like a captain, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just, not that I wanted to think that I was better than anybody else, but it was like I have something. So I was hoping like younger guys would come up to me and ask me questions, or have them watch, have me watch their match, and have me, because that stuff is really cool for me. Because I remember being in their position and asking guys like, "Do you mind watching this for me and tell me what you think?" So those are the moments that mean a lot to me.
Does that still happen now?
Not as much as it was in NXT, because it's a different animal up here.
Right.
It really is, and there's so many agents and producers and people whose job it is to really, take care of that aspect of it, anyways. But you watch your buddies, and you watch. I watch the show. You go back and you watch the show, and if somebody asks for my opinion, I absolutely will give them my opinion, but I don't go out of my way.
I was just going to say, if they don't ask for your opinion, but you see something that could make somebody better, do you ever volunteer that?
It depends on who it is.
Okay.
It really depends on if I'm comfortable around that person or not, or
if you think
if they've come up to me before. So just like,
because I know it can be kind of tricky.
But I would definitely go up to them and say, that thing that you did or whatever happened there, that was really, really cool. I would tell them that, but I wouldn't go up and say, man, that sucked. I would do this. No, I wouldn't do that unless I was very comfortable with somebody. And I still wouldn't say it sucked. I would just say, look,
it didn't
wouldn't it be
work.
better if you went, what were you doing out there? Yeah.
How about heel versus babyface? Which one do you like?
Oh God, this is a question that social media has been throwing at me for like the last year.
Yeah.
It's crazy because I built my career as a heel. I'm a career heel.
Whose idea was it for you to be a face out here first?
There's one guy who saw me as a babyface. Vince McMahon.
Vince McMahon. I'm going to say it
the
has to be Vince.
The only guy that matters.
Yeah.
So, it was a challenge. It was.
Yeah.
Coming from NXT, I had such a great heel run there and got to work with, coming out of NXT, I was working with Drew McIntyre, but before that, I had a little story with Roderick Strong, and was the old school bad guy who was talking bad about his wife and his baby, and it was a real emotional story. And then here I am 2 months later, smiling at the camera, everything's glorious.
Right.
So that was a bit of a challenge for me, and Vince got on me a lot about, you gotta smile. It's like, I'm not a smiler, but I'll do my best, So it's been a work in progress, but he's been happy, I think, with the progression and stuff. But
have you been happy with it?
Yeah, I can tell by watching, hey, I'm a little bit more comfortable here, coming down the aisle. I'm not as rigid and afraid to kind of get into the character.
Yeah.
Depending on how the crowd reacts and stuff like that too, right? So, but man, to answer your question, I think as good as it's been this year as a babyface, I think the money in Bobby Roode is definitely as a heel, and hopefully we'll get a chance to see that soon.
Yeah, I was going to say, I can just see your face when they go, we're going to turn your heel. That's where the smile will come out.
That's when I'll start talking to everybody.
Hey, Vince, you wanted to smile? All you have to tell me is that I'm going heel.
And I'll go up and start talking to everybody. Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah.
So just to wrap this up,
Yeah.
which has been amazing, just getting to know your story. But, there is this thing, I know that before they've asked you, which four horsemen would you say that you're kind of like? And Arn Anderson, I totally see the Arn Anderson in you. But I also see, especially with the gimmick of Glorious and the robe and the Ric Flair.
Yeah.
So whose idea was all of that? And why so similar?
The Glorious and with the robe.
The robe, the strut.
So I did the robe thing in TNA. When I broke away from Team Canada, I just was kind of off on my own and always was like, people would say, oh, you're Ric Flair, but it was more Rick Rude or Stunning Steve Austin was the kind of like the robe that I was kind of going for. Guy with the robe was like, it was like a Rick Rude, more of an aggressive, asshole type of heel rather than like the Ric Flair type, of heel. But, just when I came over to NXT, I sat down with Hunter and he was like, well, what do you want to do here? Like, what are you looking to do? What do you got in mind? And I was like, well, I wore a robe before. Nobody else wears a robe anymore. And I kind of feel like I could go back to that. And I really want to like be like an over-the-top, pompous asshole, and he was kind of cool with it. And then I never even had the Glorious song. I had some other song before my debut.
Yeah.
And the Glorious song was actually made for Shinsuke Nakamura,
right.
Ironically enough.
Yeah.
And before my debut, I remember being at NXT TV. Hunter calls me over and he goes, hey, listen to this. And Neil Law was there. He's the music guy here. And Michael Hayes was there. And I listened to it and it was like, what you hear, so I was totally different from my original song. He's like, yeah, with the robe and everything, I think this song would really fit what you're trying to do. So I listened to it and I was like, okay, cool. And I walked in and I was like, man, I don't know if that's good or not. That might suck. Like people might really hate it. But obviously they didn't. They loved it. So I had a robe. My very first robe I bought off Terry Taylor.
Oh yeah. Wow.
It was a Terry Taylor robe, and I got Glorious put on the back of it.
Yeah.
And then I've had like probably 7 or 8 more robes made after that with Glorious. So it's just kind of the character thing. And I guess it just kind of evolved from the song, really. Because if the Glorious song wasn't given to me, I would probably just have Rude on the back of my jacket.
Yeah.
So, and who knows if I'd even be where I'm at right now.
So if you turn heel, do you see yourself getting rid of the robe?
No, I don't think so.
No.
It's a part of me.
Has Ric Flair come to you and talk to you?
He had. That's another guy I worked with in TNA who I forgot about. I worked with Ric Flair, for crying out loud. He was my manager. Of course, and then being in the Mixed Match Challenge with Charlotte.
I know.
I have a really cool picture of, I was at Royal Rumble this past year and Rick was backstage and I was putting my my robe on to do an interview with Charlotte, and he came over and he started fixing my collar and somebody got a picture of it, so it's hanging on my wall of like Rick fixing my collar. Rick has talked to me and Rick is awesome and just obviously a legend and a guy that I've looked up to since I've started in this business, so it's really cool being, I guess, I don't know if you'd say compared to, but I guess to answer your question though, I'm more of an Arn Anderson guy. Definitely. Yeah.
It's like I see the mix of both. I see Ric Flair and Arn Anderson, which is awesome.
That's
and
a
I
hell
always
of a compliment.
say, everything's already been done, right? Because everything's already been done. Like you look at Dolph Ziggler, we talked about how he has, aspects of Shawn Michaels and, different. So, and I see Mr. Perfect. I know you love Kurt Hennig, right?
Yeah.
So I see that, and I think it's been cool where you take that and then you create your own.
I mean, everybody in this business, like you said, Dolph, everybody got into this business because the majority of us were fans of the business and had guys that we would watch and study.
Right.
And I studied Mr. Perfect, and I studied Arn Anderson, and I've studied Rick Rude, and I've studied Ric Flair. So it's not like we're copying. It's just those mannerisms and those things just come out in us as performers now. Yeah. So I don't see anything wrong with it.
Not at all.
It worked before, so why can't it work
again?
Yeah.
You put your own spin on it.
That's it. Yep.
I love it.
Yep.
Well, I can't wait to see what you continue to do here. And I know you say you're 42, right?
Yeah, 42.
But you seem like you're more like 32. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because you take care of yourself and you have such a great attitude, I don't think age is going to be a thing for you. It's more of a matter of time. Or,
right. No, and I don't think the company looks at it that way either.
Not at all.
I mean, it used to be a thing.
I know.
I remember being like 35 and they're like, "Oh, you're too old." So, but it's not a thing. I mean, I think it's just age is just a number.
Right.
And guys like AJ is up there, like close to my age. Joe,
right.
Same thing.
You guys are all killing it.
And we're all doing very well.
Yeah,
we're doing very well.
Which is an inspiration for so many people.
Sure.
To stop looking at age. I'm a big advocate of quit looking at the number.
Yep.
Because if every one of you died tomorrow, they would say how young.
Right.
First thing that would come out of their mouth, right?
Yep.
So I always say, if you're considered young dead, you're more than young alive.
I'll remember that one. That's a good point.
So good luck to you.
Thank you very much.
It's awesome, and thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Chasing Glory with Lilian Garcia.
If you're young dead, you are more than young alive. Remember those words, people. I want everybody out there to be living out there with that in their heart and not looking at age as such a horrible thing. People, God, they get so depressed and so this and that, and I don't get it. So wake up, people. Live, and celebrate. And man, thank you, Bobby, for that amazing interview. I learned something every single show. And what I've learned from Bobby is the maturity, the leadership qualities that he has, and just, the attitude that he's had, like he said, he hasn't met or made one enemy in this business. He's treated people with so much respect, and that's something that he holds dear in his heart. And that's the way you should be. You shouldn't be in this business or any business, whether you're working at an office. Don't be putting people down just so that you can feel good about yourself or higher, because it doesn't work that way. Always elevate others, always treat people with respect, and trust me, you will get further and feel much better about yourself. So there you go. Thank you so much, guys, for joining me at Lilian Garcia on Instagram and Twitter. Continue with those Apple Podcast reviews and Spreaker reviews, all those places. Make sure that you download the new Chasing Glory app that is so easy to get, and then you can flip through all your favorite interviews and go back and listen to them and rate them and all that good stuff. And make sure that you follow us, Chasing Glory Podcast on Instagram. That is all Chasing Glory things. And on YouTube, Lilian Garcia. So basically it's youtube.com/Lilian Garcia. I think I've covered all bases. I love you guys dearly. I can't wait to announce who my next Glory Friday, that's right, Glory Friday. On Chasing Glory Podcast on Instagram, you will find out every Friday, we call it Glory Friday, you'll find out who my next guest is. Okay. So I can't wait for you guys to find that out. But for now, much peace, love, and passion. And remember, guys, to always be yourself and trust that it's enough. See you later.
Thanks for joining us here on Chasing Glory from executive producer Lilian Garcia. Don't forget to share this episode with your friends. And be sure to subscribe at Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your favorite shows.